Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations in your head, worrying about things you can't control, or trying desperately to force a particular outcome? We've all been there. That constant pressure we put on ourselves, that relentless need to manage every little detail. It's exhausting, isn't it? But here's something profound to consider. The most peaceful moments in your life probably happened when you weren't trying to control anything at all. Think about it. That morning, you slept in and woke up feeling refreshed. That unexpected compliment that made your day. The chance encounter that led to a meaningful friendship. None of these beautiful moments came from force or control. They happened when you simply let life unfold. Nature shows us this wisdom every day. A river doesn't struggle to flow. It just moves effortlessly along its path. Trees don't fight to grow. They simply reach for the sunlight in their own time. Even the seasons change without any effort or resistance. There's a natural rhythm to life that we often forget when we get caught up in our human need to control everything. Consider the story of Michael, a talented musician who spent years trying to make it big. He networked relentlessly, played every gig he could get, and constantly compared himself to others in the industry. The harder he pushed, the more frustrated he became. Then one day, exhausted and disillusioned, he decided to stop chasing success and just play music for the love of it. He started performing at small, intimate venues, simply because he enjoyed connecting with people through music. Ironically, this was when his career began to take off. Producers noticed his authentic presence, and opportunities started coming to him naturally. This isn't about being passive or giving up on your dreams. It's about understanding the difference between healthy effort and unnecessary struggle. When we're constantly forcing things, we're actually working against ourselves. We create tension where there could be flow, resistance where there could be ease. Think about how you hold a handful of sand. If you clutch it tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, with an open palm, it stays right where it is. Our lives work much the same way. The things we grasp at most fiercely often elude us, while the things we approach with openness and trust tend to come to us more naturally. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, when we stop trying to change people and simply appreciate them as they are, connections deepen. At work, when we focus on doing our best without obsessing over outcomes, we often perform better. Even our health improves when we stop fighting our bodies and start working with them. There's a beautiful paradox here. By letting go of our tight control, we actually gain more influence over our lives. Not control in the rigid sense, but a gentle guidance that comes from being present and responsive rather than reactive and forceful. When we release our grip, we create space for better things to enter. Space for creativity, for unexpected opportunities, for peace. So how do we begin to practice this letting go? How do we shift from controlling to allowing? That's exactly what we'll explore in our next segment, where we'll look at practical, everyday ways to bring more ease into your life by embracing this simple but profound approach. But before we move on, take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you holding on too tightly? What might happen if you loosened your grip just a little? There comes a moment in every life when we must choose between the exhaustion of constant control and the quiet liberation of surrender. This is not surrender as defeat, but as wisdom, the kind that knows when to lean in and when to let be. Consider the ancient art of Japanese joinery, where master craftsmen fit wooden pieces together without nails or glue. They understand that wood moves with seasons, expanding, contracting, breathing. Instead of forcing rigid connections, they create spaces for this natural movement. The result? Structures that stand for centuries, flexible yet unshakable. Our lives demand this same gracious allowance. We might begin with the simple act of breathing, not as technique but as remembrance. Each inhale a receiving, each exhale a releasing. In that space between breaths lives a truth we too often forget. We are not the architects of our pulse, nor the composers of our heart's rhythm. Life moves through us as surely as air fills our lungs. When we pause, truly pause, we meet this reality. A corporate lawyer discovered this when she stopped preparing her next argument during negotiations and started listening. To her astonishment, the deals became sweeter, the conversations richer. The answers she had been forcing now came unbidden. Perfection, that cruel illusion, withers under the gaze of honest living. There is a sacredness in the slightly crooked verse, the laughter that interrupts a serious moment, the handwritten note with its smudged ink. These are not flaws, but fingerprints of authentic existence. A celebrated chef once confessed his most beloved dishes came not from precise measurements, but from moments when he abandoned recipes and trusted his hands. The meals people remembered were never the perfect ones, but those that carried the unmistakable flavor of presence. Time holds its own wisdom. That problem which today feels like a mountain will, in years hence, reveal itself as mere foothill, if it is remembered at all. History whispers this truth through every life. The pain that seemed unendurable passed. The joy that felt fleeting left its indelible mark. An elderly gardener once showed me his roses, explaining how the harsh winter that nearly killed them ultimately made their roots grow deeper. Now they bloom with unrivaled vigor. Our trials, too, have this hidden alchemy. Life's most profound gifts often come disguised as losses. The closed door that leads to an unexpected path. The failed plan that births a better dream. There is an intelligence at work greater than our short-sighted designs. A musician friend recounts how the night his band abandoned him, he sat alone with his guitar, and for the first time heard his own voice. What seemed like ending became Genesis. Each evening offers chance for gentle release. Imagine taking your clenched thoughts and worries like stones from your pocket, laying them one by one on the shore of night. The tide of sleep will carry what it will, return what it must. A weary entrepreneur began this practice during dark times, and found mornings brought not solutions, but something better, clarity to face what remained. This is the paradox. In our letting go, we are not diminished, but expanded. Like trees that bend in storm and thus do not break, we discover strength in surrender. The river does not lose itself when it joins the ocean. It becomes what it was always meant to be. In our final contemplation, we shall see how this path of allowance leads not to loss, but to a homecoming, to the self that was there before the world told us to grasp and strive and control. But first, rest here with this knowing. Every act of release plants a seed of return. What you need has never been held by force. There is a quiet truth that lives beneath all our striving, beneath the endless lists and plans and worries that fill our days. It whispers to us in moments when we're too tired to resist, when we collapse into an armchair at day's end, when we pause to watch sunlight through leaves, when some unexpected beauty catches our breath. In these unguarded instants, We remember what we've always known, but keep forgetting. That peace was never something to achieve, but something to receive. The great paradox of our existence reveals itself slowly, like dawn unfolding across a landscape. All those years we spent pushing, controlling, manipulating outcomes. We thought we were building something, but life was trying to teach us a different lesson entirely. Like a child clutching a butterfly too tightly, we didn't understand that some things can only come to us when we open our hands. There's a story about a man who spent his life searching for treasure. He crossed oceans, climbed mountains, followed maps and rumors. In old age, exhausted, he returned home empty-handed. Only then did he notice the strange markings on his own hearthstone. Digging there, he found the treasure had been buried beneath his house all along. Our search for control follows this same tragicomic arc. We exhaust ourselves seeking what was always here. If only we'd stop long enough to see it. Consider how the natural world embodies this wisdom without effort. The bamboo bends with the wind rather than resisting it, and thus remains unbroken. The tide recedes only to return, following rhythms older than human will. Even our own bodies know this truth. The heart beats without our permission. Lungs fill and empty of their own accord. The most essential things happen through us, not because of us. A famous violinist once confessed that his best performances came when he stopped trying to play perfectly. "There's a sweet spot," he said, "where I become the space through which music moves. The notes come easier then, as if they're playing themselves." This is the secret all great artists know, that mastery ultimately leads to surrender, not control. The same applies to living well. As we release our grip on life, something unexpected happens. The relationships we stop trying to force become more authentic. The work we stopped obsessing over flows more naturally. Even our bodies respond to this letting go. Shoulders drop their armor, jaws unclench, breath deepens. We discover that much of what we called stress was really just our resistance to what is. There's profound freedom in realizing how little we actually need to control. That email we anxiously rewrite 10 times. Sent simply, it often gets better results. The conversation we rehearsed endlessly in our heads. More genuine when we let it unfold naturally. The future we tried so hard to engineer frequently surpasses our plans when we leave room for serendipity. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or effort. It means distinguishing between wise action and fearful control. Like a gardener who understands she can't force growth but can pull weeds and provide water, we learn to participate without insisting. We do our part, then trust the larger process. The final revelation comes quietly, like morning light filling a room. We see that all our controlling was just a misplaced prayer for safety, for love, for meaning. Underneath every anxious thought was simply a longing to feel at home in this unpredictable world. And here's the miracle, that home isn't something to build through control, but something to recognize through surrender. So we arrive where we began, but changed. The same life that once felt like an endless struggle now reveals itself as something more fluid, more forgiving. We still make plans, but hold them lightly. We still care deeply, but without clinging. The poet Rilke described it perfectly. No forced seriousness can prevail where joy has come to play. This is the great homecoming, not to some distant shore, but to the present moment we've been fleeing all along. Here, In this ordinary now, with its imperfections and uncertainties, we finally stop resisting and discover, to our quiet amazement, that everything does get easier when we let it be. Not because life changes, but because we do. The stream hasn't ceased flowing. We've simply stopped swimming against the current. Turn onto your back now. Feel how the water holds you. Notice the sky you couldn't see while struggling. This is what you were looking for all along. It was here all the time.